Hey everyone, how's it going? Grizzlyberry here. Wanted to let you all know that the first discussion for the Make a Map project has come to an end, and the winning theme and game mode have been decided by you guys. It was a pretty tight race between Koth and Payload, but in the end, Payload ended up winning the race ever so slightly. And I'm really happy with this because Payload is my favorite game mode, and I think it allows for the most to be done creatively, versus only creating half a map and then flipping it around. However, this also means it's going to be a lot more work, so I hope all of you guys are up for it. As for the theme, it wasn't as cut and dry as the game mode. The winner was actually 50s sci-fi, but this theme doesn't really exist in the game, at least not as a primary theme. Now, one might argue that all of TF2 is sci-fi, but I'd say it's actually more spy-fi. And yeah, that's a thing. So instead, we're going to go with the second most popular theme, which is Japanese. This is going to be the main theme of the map, and then hopefully you all can figure out how to fit it into the sci-fi universe as best you can. So now we're finally to the fun part, actually making the map. And this week's discussion is all about the first payload point. So that's going to include blue spawn, the first point, and all the area in between. So head over to r/makeamap on Reddit and post your ideas in the new discussion posts that we have. Now, I'm sure many of you have ideas for what makes a fun and interesting payload point, but for anyone who is unsure, let's take a look at some of the most popular payload maps in the game, starting with Badwater. So Badwater was one of the earliest payload maps released, and it's held up super well. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at the first point. So first, we're going to analyze this from the blue team's perspective. Right out of the gates, blue is clearly at a height disadvantage. Before they push the cart, they need to clear the nearby cliffs of any enemies. The most direct way to achieve this is by blast jumping up here. But for classes without those options, they have to go the long way, either up the main path to the right or the smaller route to the left. Now, the right path is open, it's more exposed, and this means that blue needs to watch out for snipers. But it also gives enough room for the blue team to avoid spam by soldiers and demos. The fact that they're pushing uphill makes it harder for pills to land because they're going to roll downhill, or for rockets because there's nothing to really splash off of. Now, the left route is the complete opposite. It's super cramped, but at the same time it provides cover from long-range classes. It's fairly easy for it to be pinned down by one or two players that are spamming really well, but it's kind of out of the way. This makes it a pretty good route for spies who can slip by undetected, and pyros who do better in close range, as well as have the ability to reflect any of the spam that might be coming their way. It also gives a small height advantage to any enemies that might be below. So once the blue team has been able to push up a little bit, they can now move the cart through this super tiny tunnel. And this provides complete cover from any of the enemies above, and blue team only has to watch the front and the rear entrances of the tunnel. Now, while it is pretty susceptible to spam, red doesn't really have a great position to hold while attacking it. And on top of that, the cart is constantly replenishing health and ammo, meaning the blue team can tank a lot of damage, while red team only has one small health kit nearby. Once blue team is out of the tunnel, the first point is finally in sight. How easy this is to capture depends on how well blue pushed up top. So if blue is not cleared off the cliff above the tunnel, it could be kind of problematic. This is an extreme height advantage for red, and blue doesn't really have any options to fight back. Again, they're either going to have to blast jump up here or take the long way around, which is exposed the entire way. However, blue does have a couple of things going for them, even if they aren't obvious. The first is how much quicker they're able to get to this area. Now, this alone isn't enough. Due to the setup time, red is able to get here first, and once they're here, they have the advantage of the high ground. But as I mentioned, blue has two advantages, and the second one is their shortened respawn time. If a blue player and red player were to die on this cliff at exactly the same time, not only would it take longer for the red player to get back from spawn, but it would also take them longer to respawn to begin with. These two factors allow blue to cap a point that would otherwise be incredibly difficult, so keep that in mind. It's possible to give the defenders a great place to defend from while still making it possible for blue to attack due to the distance and respawn times. So now let's quickly look at the map from red's perspective. I've already touched on a lot of aspects of this map, but let's talk about two things I haven't touched on: health and ammo. You'll notice that both of these health packs are more in red territory. They're behind cover, which gives red a chance to heal outside of blue's view. But at the same time, neither health pack is in a good spot for red. In the case of this pack, they have to fall back, giving up horizontal space. And for this pack, they give up vertical space, meaning they're at a disadvantage if blue pushes through this area while they're retreating. As I mentioned, the cliff is a really powerful position, so another way the developers balanced it is by forcing red to give it up if they need health. It's important to keep in mind though that this can be mitigated if red team has an engineer or a medic, which is why these classes are so crucial and need to be kept in mind when making a map. So speaking of engineers, let's take a look at ammo placement. Near the first point, there are 2 ammo packs, a medium pack here and a large pack here. And where do you typically see engineers build? Here, here, and here. Uncle Dan goes over a lot of this in his engineer's blueprint video on Badwater, which I'd highly recommend if you want an engineer's perspective on this map. Basically, ammo makes it way easier to hold an area as every class, not just engineer. I typically like to put ammo packs a short walk away from where I think the sentries will be built or where somebody's going to hold a point. This encourages players to stay in that area and defend it, while also making sure that an engineer isn't able to just sit behind their sentry or sit around the corner and spam. So let's summarize everything we've said so far. Blue is at a height disadvantage out of spawn. They need to clear the high ground to make capping the point easier. There's an open route, a confined route, and a cart route, which contains a choke point near the point. Health packs are positioned closer to red, but grabbing them forces red to back up and give up space. So let's take these principles and look at some of the other maps. First off, let's look at upward. Blue starts at a height disadvantage? Check. Blue has to clear high ground to make it easier to cap? Check. Open route? Check. Confined route? Check. Cart route with choke point? Check. Health packs make red fall back? Kinda. So what about Barnblitz? Blue starts at a height disadvantage? Check. Blue has to clear high ground to make it easier to cap? Check. Open route? Not really. Confined route? Check and check. Cart route with a choke point? Check. Health packs that make red fall back? Not really. So as you can see, not every map follows this formula. And that's a good thing. We don't want all of our maps to play the same. But I think it's still important to look at the layout of maps and why they work. So these are just some basic ideas to get you started. Hopefully that's helped. I've gone ahead and posted some links over on the subreddit as well that have to do with payload map design. So again, if you're interested in contributing to the map, please head over to the subreddit and go ahead and follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and join the Discord if you want to see the map get built, as well as voice your input live. So links to all of that stuff are in the description below. Next video, we'll finally have something to show for all our work. So if you want to keep up with the progress, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to y'all later. Have a good one.